Psych-Minded Media presents Best Psychology in Film with your host, Dr. Catherine Marshall Woods. Best Psychology in Film is also a book available online where books are sold. Today's featured guest, Marcellus Cox. Hello, my name is Dr. Catherine Marshall Woods, and welcome to Best Psychology in Film, where we converse with award-winning filmmakers and talk together regarding the psychology within the work. The human emotion of disappointment can be one that is difficult to navigate. Chronic disappointment has the power to hinder the development of healthy relationships and can lead to a life of what feels like overwhelming regret. How does such a feeling plague one's life? The film Mickey Hardaway, written and directed by Marcellus Cox, offers the life of a youth experiencing the consequences of his father's deep-felt life of disappointment. Welcome to the show, Marcellus. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm well, thank you. I was really fortunate to see your film during its most recent film festival debut. Can you tell us a little bit about your film?
Mickey Hardaway is a psychological thriller that follows a young sketch artist who visits a well-renowned psychiatrist in the attempt to try to put his life back together as it begins to crumble out of control after years of verbal and physical abuse at the hands of others.
It's interesting because you said his life was beginning to crumble out of control. How do we see this character do so in this film?
Well, in the 20-minute segment that you guys have witnessed, those of you who have seen the film, you start to see it from the young adult level where he really has more of a real head-to-head friction with his father because he never has his father's approval in life and wanted to become an artist. His father is more disappointed in him for not considering the 9-to-5 route. Also, in a way, his father is disappointed in himself for his own failed dreams and passions, and he takes that out on Mickey. So you start to see the friction head on, and there's a lot of things that causes a lot of bad relationships between fathers and sons, and mostly just children and parents in general. When you have somebody who's more angled to destroy your passion and your dreams before you even get a chance to even let it blossom, just because they don't believe that there's any realistic chance of making a living out of it. So you start to see that in this 20-minute segment between Mickey and his father.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like your character you mentioned has this dream and his father is crushing it. Do you feel like he has an opportunity to have support in his life?
Well, in the actual feature script, he does have it from his mother, but we didn't want to present that part of it. We just really wanted to show just the dynamic between him and his father, because to me, it's relatable, especially at this time for a lot of young people who are coming up. And it seems like this is a generation still where, like in the past, you kind of had to have that, oh, well, you need to have a job to support yourself, to do this and do that because we can't provide for you because you're an adult now. And you still kind of see those aspects even to this day, where it's almost like, well, you can do that and still be able to live your dream without, without an individual like, your parents harnessing that, or just people in general who don't believe in it, harnessing it, without even giving these individuals a chance to thrive. So that was really something that I wanted to showcase, because I myself, as an artist, have dealt with this, maybe not from a parental perspective, but just with people in general who had no belief in filmmaking being a reasonable like life goal or something that's achievable, because they know how difficult it is to actually do it, and that there's one in a million others who want to be just like you. So it was one of those things I wanted to showcase, the dreamers who don't get to dream and what happens, the consequences behind it, not only for those who attempt to do it, but those who attempt to harness it.
I love how you just said that you wanted to show dreamers, individuals who have the opportunity to dream of something that may be really difficult to be successful at, or to be profitable or monetize what they're dreaming about. And you wanted to gear this film to those individuals. One of the things that I've also heard you kind of note is that a person doesn't have to choose one. For an example, maybe someone says, or the adult in their life says, well, you need to have a 9 to 5. You need to have something that supports you. And the dreamer says, well, I want to follow my dream. It's almost like you're suggesting that the person can do both. They can have a 9 to 5 and they can still work on their dream too.
Well, yes, you can, because I myself have been in that situation where I have a day job, although I feel like sometimes it does kind of wrench my soul a little bit, because I would love to focus every single day and bit of aspect of my life into what I'm doing. Right now, I have not been presented the opportunity, but I do know that I can do both, which I can focus on my day job, make some money to survive on in order to be able to thrive through the week or through the year, just to keep life going. But at the same time, I know where my heart is. I know where my passion is in my filmmaking. And I know that once I leave that world, I can exit into this world. And I feel like artists can do that, but it's hard to tell an artist that. And the average individual, especially in a city like Los Angeles or New York or Atlanta or wherever you are, when you're a dreamer, you dream big. And sometimes those big dreams come with consequences. So you can understand where the average person comes from in terms of saying, hey, you have to have this to fall back on. But it's hard to tell a dreamer that. But I feel like, for me personally, as someone who does this for a living, at the same time work for a living, just still, even as I'm doing this, just support me in what I'm doing and where I'm going for, because I don't want to be a box boy or to work at a grocery store or work at an airport or wherever, forever. I have visions that are bigger than the average individual. And all I'm asking for is support, especially if you know I'm good at it.
When you said that, all you're asking for is, let's say, for people to support these creative individuals, like you said, the dreamers, and they're dreaming big, and individuals need that support from their loved ones to be able to then move through and be able to feel like they have some individuals who are believing in them with them. So the individuals who say, no, you should put this dream aside, do a 9 to 5, put your dream on hold or forget about your dream. It almost sounds like there's some fear that's behind those sorts of that narrative, that if you were to continue to dream and do these things, I fear you won't be able to take care of yourself.
You could understand that, especially in a field of entertainment like the one I'm in, because for every one of you, there's 100,000 others just like you. And what happens if you're not as good as any of them? So you can have that viewpoint. I mean, I'm not bragging about myself. I think that I've done pretty well for myself, and that things are starting to go into the right direction. But for the person who's starting out, who has the same dreams just like you, what do you tell that person who might not be just as good, but has room for potential? And I think that that's sometimes we have to look at, is the potential of individuals if you don't destroy it. And I think sometimes you do see that fear, because it's like, that this is a very difficult profession for the average person who sees it, who don't understand it the way that you understand it. So I get that point of view, and I understand their concern, but at the same time, you have to let that individual learn for themselves. That's the only way they're ever going to grow. That's the only way they're ever going to develop and truly understand, is this a passion, or is this just, okay, I just want to see? So that's the only way you're ever going to be able to know. But when you know that once you're bitten by that bug and this is it, then this is it. And at the same time, when they do become in that mold, just support them. Let them make their own mistakes. That's the only way they're ever going to learn. That's the only way they're ever going to grow. That's the only way they're ever actually really going to see their true potential. So I understand the fear. And believe me, I'm still dealing with it. Even with this, to this day, I feel like I've done enough to the point where I know I've made a name for myself, and that people know who I am, and they are aware of my work. And I still have individuals who are saying, maybe you should consider doing this or doing that. And it's just like, no. I'm at a point now where I've established myself, and I'm in love. And I've been in love with this since 11 years old. So it's like, there's no going back. But I just think I'm willing to listen to you, but you just have to still listen and understand me and where I come from. And at the end of the day, all I ask for, even if you don't really mean it, just support me.
you mentioned that, again, his life was beginning to crumble because of many different hardships that he was going through. And not only was he not gaining support from his um, parental figure, he also was being abused, verbally abused. And I do want to highlight the difference in that someone could be unsupportive of your dreams and not
Mhm.
verbally abusive. But in this film, it articulates, I'm sorry, excuse me, illustrates two aspects of their dynamic. One is that he was not supportive, and two, he was also verbally abusive. And I
Mhm.
wonder from that aspect, your motivation of adding that within your film.
Well, for me personally, actually meeting with a lot of these students who have dealt with these type of issues at home, who are artists, who are focused into the creative side, you have dealt with parents who have not only been verbally abusive in terms of getting their point across, but physically abusive. And a lot of this leads to a lot of dangerous situations to the point where I dealt with one maybe 3 years ago when I was fine tuning the script, who actually shot and killed his father and his mother. And then he ended up shooting himself just because of the fact that they just did not care about him in his dream. And he felt that no one loved him, or, so you deal with situations like this, and, you hate to present it that way, but I've always been, as an artist, truthful to my work and truthful to my stories. And I'm not going to hide anything, because I feel like if we hide it, then what's the point of us even telling it? You can't sugarcoat life, because life is not coated in sugar. Life is hard. Life is real, and you have to be able to present it that way. So this was just one of those situations where, I mean, not every artist has dealt with this, but majority of people who have tried to choose this path have dealt with situations where it's been a physical and a verbal situation for them in order to be able to get to where they are. So it's just a part of the background, and it's a part of a lot of people's backgrounds in this profession.
See a short clip of the film Mickey Hardaway after these messages. Hear more of this interview at Best Psychology in Film on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, and where podcasts are hosted. Want to make your film psychologically rich? Visit our website at www.psychmindedmedia.com to collaborate. And find more on Instagram at psychmindedmedia. Created with works by. And now, Mickey Hardaway.
Mickey, I can't speak for your father. Quite frankly, I'm not going to. I think the reason why he reacts this way is because it's the manner in which he was raised to believe. I'm not saying his technique is right or wrong. We all have a right to believe what we want.
Technique. Beating and belittling your child is considered a technique.
When it's passed down from generation to generation, yeah, it's a technique. I believe your father treated you the way that he was raised because that's all he was accustomed to. Which is more than likely the way that his father and uncles, cousins, other family members were raised. This consistent cycle of abuse that was never broken. Instead, it was drilled in them at such an early age that this is the only way they feel capable of showing discipline, if at all love.